we got word that Tucker Carlson has made a documentary. He's been talking about it, going around. We're going to get to some of his clips. One particular, we'll get to it later, but I want to walk this through from the beginning. But right before we went live, we got word of this, and I'm going to put this up first. And this might be related to the Charlie Kirk situation. This might actually be related. Tucker's documentary about 9/11 was supposed to be released today. But according to this report, so this is the official story on 9/11 is a complete lie. That's his premise. I don't know if that's the name of it, but that's the premise. I have to look closer at the thing. I was hoping we would get a little piece of it today. So he does a little breakdown of the film, and that this movie is important because we want to give new information to the public, and you can join and support real journalism. Look at the bottom. Release date, notice of rescheduled release, coming soon. This was supposed to be released today, and now it's coming soon. I wonder. So we'll tuck that away for now, and let's go back to the beginning, shall we? Yeah. Let's go back. You guys can remember back. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, really quick. Let's not forget Tucker and Megyn Kelly have both also dissented from Israel after being funded by Israel for a very long time. But I do think one of the key factors in Charlie Kirk's passing was the fact that he was kind of bringing in the new Republican blood and new intelligence assets, into intelligence agencies and the party, because apparently he did a lot of recruiting for the CIA also. So if you have someone recruiting for both of these entities that is going against either the people controlling America, obviously they're not going to like that very much. So,
okay, guys. So 24 years ago today, if you were alive at the time, everybody knows where they were. It's one of those very few, you can count on a hand the moments, not personal, but there's moments that we all share as a collective that we all know where we were if we were alive at the time. And that goes back, JFK shooting, we weren't there for that, but maybe our parents, grandparents were there. 9/11, definitely. This one that just happened, Charlie Kirk, we might all remember where we were when that happened. But
you know who doesn't remember where they were on the JFK shooting?
Who's
George
that?
Bush. But anyway, go ahead. That's different topic, but related.
It's all connected, man. Okay. Yeah. With that out of the way, 24 years ago, we all woke up to what was feeling like at the time, and it still could feel this way to a lot of people, the biggest, most intense, horrible moment that was occurring on our home soil in our entire lives. And the world, as they say, the world changed since. We were told that 19 hijackers got on 4 planes with the intent of causing the terrorism. 3 of them made it to their destinations. 1 of them did not. But the point being, it was an attack on our freedom, our attack on our democracy, and we had to get revenge. And we went right into the war on terror was born immediately. And the knowing the target was known within seconds, Jay. We didn't know this at the time, but I at the time I thought it was the next day, because I remember September 12th. I think we all remember when you started seeing pictures of Osama bin Laden. They were already selling the target. There was target practice. You could get target. There wasn't Amazon at the time, but they were showing you, hey, get Osama on a thing with a target, and you can do fire practice on Osama. They had that ready on September 12th. But a lot of people don't know, they got word, every news station got word within 42 seconds of the second plane hitting the hitting the first tower. From 42 seconds of impact, they knew it was Osama bin Laden. I want you guys to understand that timeline. We couldn't go back and look at that at the time because we only had access to the news that was running at the time. So I'm throwing that as out there to you guys, very similar to what we're seeing right now with things being known immediately. We had a 9/11 commission. Again, this is like the original, hey, we're going to look into it. This was the original January 6th. Yeah. The original, hey, we got a team, a non-biased team investigating investigating themselves, right?
Do you have the clip? Sorry, do you have the clip of the lady announcing the plane hitting the second building before it hit the second building? Because there's so much stuff around 9/11, but this just speaks to, you know, the foreknowledge of the events. But there was one mainstream news channel, I want to say it might have been BBC, that reported the second plane hit before it actually hit. And I know you have the dancing Israelis, you know.
Well, we're gonna get to building 7 in a second. But I actually was looking for the one I mentioned. I couldn't find the one I was mentioning, that there's like a 42-second timer.
Yeah.
I'm going to find it and put it in. I'll find that one and put it in post. But as far as you might be referring to the building 7, because that actually, I do have that footage right here. I'm going to show you this. So, if you guys remember when we were having the anniversaries every year, and what would happen is the mainstream would replay. They wanted us to kind of replay what happened, and like MSNBC and CNN at the time, they would just say, "Oh, okay, it's September 11th is coming up, so if you guys want to tune in, we're gonna go through it like as a tribute. We're gonna
hashtag never forget."
Yeah, but they edited out. So there's stuff that you would never see a second time, and they got rid of it. There was stuff about multiple explosions. You never saw that in the replay. Stuff like on the ground reporting. We saw stuff from the Pentagon, reporters reporting honestly that they did not see any plane parts. They saw a hole in the building. There was no plane. All of that got edited out. This one got edited out from BBC. And I want you guys to see this. If you've never seen this, it was actually aired. This is building 7, the third building that went down from, as they said, due to fire, which has never happened. This is the only time it's ever happened. 3 buildings on the same day. Building 7 was across way away from building 1 and 2, and it still went down apparently. Here is a news organization that we're supposed to trust telling us that the building went down before it actually went down. Here we go.
On the latest building collapse in New York, you might have heard a few moments ago, was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. It seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very sketchy. As you can see behind me, the trade center appears to be still burning. We see the...
So where that arrow was, that's building 7. It hasn't fallen yet. The smoke is from 1 and 2. Building 7 is still up. And she's telling us that building 7 has fallen.
Well, Matt, I know...
Smoke.
Go ahead.
Sorry, really quick. I know you're an actor, and now you can see how damaging it can be if you say your lines at the wrong time. So I think these anchors, they got the timing completely wrong over here.
This one I would actually not blame on the actor. Was on the unfortunate in the wrong place, wrong time, because it's the producer, and they're giving the cues, and they're saying we're cutting to this. So that's who's to blame.
It's the producer who got this messed up. Oh, sorry. Good point. Yeah.
So she's given her instructions. We're time to do this story. And as we know about journalism, we know now, we didn't know then, but we know now that they are exactly what you said, Jay. They are all actors. They're given a script and they're told to stand here and deliver a line. And so you don't question that direction. A good actor takes direction well. They don't question. They don't go, wait, why would I be standing here if the things are, why am I doing this? Why is my character? The directors don't want to work with actors that challenge. And
they're saying why, like they're literally reporting on a building collapsing and pointing to the building that's still there.
Yeah. And so then the camera guy goes even further in because they think that the smoke is from that one. That's from the original too.
And ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city, but completely disappeared now, and New York is still unable to take on board what has happened to them.
They destroyed an American symbol, man. They destroyed it, man.
Yeah. So there's that. And so these are the things that we don't see when they replay it. And so there's these one-time shots that you're never going to see again. And then we're not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah.
We were saying earlier in the show, here's another question we were never allowed to ask ever. And we're apparently still not allowed to. Where is the freaking plane? That's the shot outside of the Pentagon. It looks like something certainly hit it. Looks like it might have been a missile. Why are the windows intact next to it? Why aren't they blown out?
They should have built the plane out the same material as they build passports out of, and then the passengers could have been protected. They might not even have died.
Yeah.
Think about it.
So look, I just want to be clear for our viewers. Okay. So you may never have heard these questions before. I don't know. I don't know your background. You may understand. I think as a whole, as a unit, we understand as a society that going to Iraq, a country that didn't attack us, was not just wrong. It was a lie. We were lied to on purpose. Weapons of mass destruction was a lie. We know that the illegal torture programs that we set up, the Guantanamo Bay, was a humanitarian crime. We know that Obama ran on he's going to hold people responsible. He was going to for war crimes, for illegal torture, and then he not only doesn't hold them responsible, he continues a drone program and then admits on his way out, we tortured some folks. Yeah, we tortured some folks. So the entire operation not only was wrong, it was mistimed, it was the wrong place to look. We all know we know that it was done on purpose that way. So we look a little closer. And again, I don't want to disrespect people that I understand people dedicated their lives to this. I understand that some people were tricked into a position of being that hero that steps up, that George Bush told you, we're going to go fight them over there, smoke them out of their caves. And you felt like, I'm going to suit up. I'm going to do this because I need to do the right thing for my country. But the entire time it was done as it was a lie. You were lied into a position, and it wasn't even for our interest. And this is the part I think that looking back, and I told our viewers, I told you guys, we are looking at this yet again, because it goes even deeper than we ever thought. That's what we're realizing. Right now, I'm going to do this. Let me first, for people that we're walking them through, and we're going to get to the big cheese soon. We're going to get to the big cheese, but I think a lot of us understood that we were going around the Middle East doing these war after war, and that was wrong. And somebody who pointed that out to us pretty early, and this is before I was talking about Israel, Jay. I didn't even know to talk about Israel.
Speaking of that, really quick, they're going crazy in the comments, by the way. They're pissed off that we haven't mentioned, Israel so far with 9/11, and they think we're going to skip that. So you have good time.
Okay. Sorry, guys. We are absolutely mentioning Israel. What we're trying to do is talk people through the process. The process is you ask questions you're not allowed to ask them. People that I asked people, I was asking questions in 2005. I was like, hey, I saw this Loose Change movie. These guys were going, they were trying to figure out, why do we not know what happened to, why are these phone calls from the plane from flight 93? There's very odd. There were so many, the passport thing. How do these buildings just look like they were controlled demolition? So many unanswered questions. Question after question that never had an answer. So I was asking those to family members and friends, and they were telling me, did you think that your government would do this to its own people? And I think that's a hard pill to swallow. And I remember feeling like, well, I'm not saying what happened. I'm saying, can we ask the question? I don't know. We're going to get to Israel, guys. Believe me, because I think that this might be a silver lining, because I have a hunch that people that we were not allowed to talk about this to back 20 years ago, because they would say, how dare you say that about your own government? They might be more willing to listen to this now, because we're actually saying it goes deeper than that. So we're going to get to Israel right now, but I'm going to start with General Wesley Clark in 2014. What he did is he sat down with Amy Goodman, and he told Amy Goodman, to her audience, Democracy Now!, that there were pecking orders happening at the Pentagon, with the intention of bringing America to, and this is his words, not mine, 7 wars in 5 years. Listen from the horse's mouth himself.
For 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld, and and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
7 countries in 5 years. So I remember seeing this and thinking, wow, I think we were right this whole time, but we still couldn't have this discussion with people. But there's one question, I'll let Chuck, let me finish this thought. There's one question I didn't ask myself until very recently, and I would have to admit, I'm going to admit out loud, I don't think I asked this question till after October 7th. I rewatched this footage, Jay, and I asked myself, well, wait a minute. You got the CIA, the Pentagon, telling us that there was a top-down order, and obviously he's not telling us who gave that order. I never thought to ask, well, who gave that order? The CIA is connected to what? To the Mossad, and way up to what? I mean, Israel, Mossad, CIA. It's all connected. In fact, this is from Sam. Man, this is our guy, man. This is our guy. He was arrested in UK for Free Palestine with 900 people over the weekend. We're so glad you're out. Thanks for being back on the show. Wish you go. Exactly right. CIA plus Mossad equals 9/11. So that's why we watch this now and we say, oh, who gave that order? Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want people to forget that George Bush was also a member of the Skull and Bones Society, which is again a secret society. Him and John Kerry, actually, both of them, are, and they were opponents, against each other in an election. So, again, I think, we also have to talk about how secret societies have infiltrated our intelligence agencies too, because George Bush's father was also a Skull and Bones. He ran the CIA for a very long time. And, John Kirikow, do you know who he is? He's
yes.
one of the, he's a whistleblower, actually, who talks about, a lot of the bad stuff the CIA does. And he was in a space, actually on Twitter Spaces the other day. I had the opportunity to actually get on stage and speak with him. And I asked him, hey, do you see any people in positions in key positions of power in intelligence agencies who have connections to secret societies? And he told me, yeah, actually, there is a very strong correlation between leadership in these agencies and secret societies. And he's very critical of Israel. And he chalked that up to friendly favors and coincidence. So my opinion on it differs from his, but I'm just saying, either if secret societies don't control Israel, Israel controls them. So, but either way, they're very connected. So maybe it's a debate at who's at the top, but we need to be talking about all of them, in my opinion. But
we've covered on the show that there is ex-Pentagon officials telling us that the Mossad has infiltrated the Pentagon since the early 2000s and before that. So until you show me an Israel former military telling us that the USA has infiltrated their military since whenever, and that they're afraid.
I think they're the proxy. The proxy. So
I'm just saying, who's infiltrating who? That's kind of my. So whoever is right?
Well, we set up Israel. We set up the Israeli deep state, like through arming them. And like our intelligence agencies, like Whitney Webb's book goes into this in detail. It was the Italian mafia, which is connected to the Roman Catholic Church, that came together with the Jewish mafia to funnel guns into Israel and to build them up. So Israel wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us. And the whole idea of Israel started in a country that's founded by the same people, who like take credit for founding America. So I'm just saying this is like, they literally call America the New Atlantis in their documentary.
It sounds to me like you could make the same argument for AI and say, AI can't be controlling us, Jay. We created it.
What do you mean?
But it got a little out of hand there. We might not be able to shut it down. You know what I'm saying? It might be making its own rules, even though we're the ones that are writing the checks. But think about this. People now, Garland Nixon has made that argument to me. He said, look, we're writing the checks. So whoever's writing the checks is kind of in charge. I say, not if you're in debt. Who owns the banks? Who owns the banks that we're borrowing the money from? This is this is the system, right? That they want to implement this same system all throughout the Middle East, because that's the thing, right? You have Gaddafi. Gaddafi wanted his own banking system. He said out loud that Israel. He's actually said out loud that Israel did 9/11, and he said he felt bad for the American people, and we're trying to have our own way of life here with our own monetary system. You can't do that. We're going to shut it down. We need you to go into debt like everyone else, so we'll control you with the banks, with the private banking system. That's what it's about. That's what it was about. That's what it was about with Saddam. Saddam also had his own currency.
I do want to be clear, though. Yeah, my argument differs from, Garland Nixon's in a way, because I haven't heard him really mention the secret society aspect. He talks more about the American corporations that benefit from these wars. And that's also a key point, because like we invest in Israel. Like a lot of Israeli, companies are owned by American entities. A lot of the stuff they're doing profits, American oligarchs too. So there is a two-way street there. And then all of these wars, we get a bunch of contracts, our businesses benefit from the places that are destabilized for Israel. So they are a perfect proxy, man, because of their religion, they think they're doing this for themselves. So again, I don't know for sure who's at the top, but I do think that relationship needs to be talked about more, and it's flown under the radar.
Well, let's get to one more part of the story. This is another footage that was aired live on ABC. And it's become quite famous now, passed around. I didn't know it existed at the time, but if you happen to be tuned into ABC on, shortly after 9/11, you got this. This was covered. If this is the first time you're seeing this, hold on to your seats, guys. This is going to be intense. This literally aired on ABC. Here we go.
It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed three men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. They didn't look shocked to me. They didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day? They said they worked for a company called Urban Moving. The FBI obtained a search warrant for the company's offices.
2 SUVs were filled up with between 9 and 12 boxes and computers.
Not long after the arrests, the offices of Urban Moving were simply abandoned. Almost everything was left behind. In jail, the 5 Israelis were repeatedly interrogated and given lie detector tests. Stephen Gordon was their American lawyer.
They were asked questions if they had ever been approached by or hired by any non-United States intelligence community.
While there is still some debate among American intelligence officials, many investigators believe some of the men were part of an Israeli operation aimed at monitoring radical Islamic charities that support groups like Hamas, something lawyers for the 5 men and the Israeli government strongly deny.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
Yeah, we heard it.
So what they're telling us is they either knew about it and didn't tell us, or they planned it, or they knew about it and told us, and then we didn't act on it. But I don't see any other possibility other than those three. So.
Well, a couple files directly from the FBI. This is, they redacted this. They put, as far as the, covering the face, but there's 4 of them right there, and this part is very important. This is right from an FBI file. You have, and this was this was said in the interview. The former employee stated that as Israeli employee of Urban had even once remarked, "Give us 20 years and we'll take over your media and destroy your country." That's in the FBI files. I guess the FBI has become anti-Semitic. I guess that's what's happened there. We're following money. We're following a paper trail. And these are just questions we're asking. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Go.
Speaking of the paper trail, you have the information about what's his name, Larry Silverstein.
I was literally getting to that right next.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to undercut the next segment.
We can put this right up here.
Yeah.
This is we call him Lucky Larry. Lucky Larry Silverstein. He ate breakfast on the 91st floor of the World Trade Center every day, but luckily didn't come on that one day. Luckily, he also happened to take out an insurance plan that covered terrorism just in time.
Like a month before.
Yes, 1 month before.
Yeah.
In August of 2001, and he collected over $4.5 billion.
He must clean up the blackjack table. He must clean up, man. I'm saying.
Now, we knew about this. I first heard about this from the Loose Change guys, right? Because they talked about this in way back. But what I never connected, Jay, was the Zionist background. I never connected the Israel part of it. I never connected the fact that Netanyahu comes to our Congress every few years and tells us the next war we're supposed to get into, the next person we're supposed to topple. So I have to say this, and this is a hard part to say now, but anybody who understands that now you're starting to realize that we were duped. We were not only duped by our country, who made you fight an illegal war. If you actually went out there to fight on behalf of democracy and behalf of the good guys versus the bad guys, it's actually worse than that. We were going out there to fight for another country who didn't have to lose anybody. We did their fighting for them. Netanyahu would show up and tell us it's time to take out Saddam. It's time to take out Gaddafi. It's like, man, he wanted Syria so bad. We finally circled back and got rid of Assad. It's time to teach the Hamas a lesson. We're literally funding a genocide in real time while you're bombing every neighboring country. You just bombed the negotiators in Qatar. This is what they've been doing to us for years. So if you happen to have been part of that at the time, going to Iraq, going to Afghanistan, and thinking you were fighting for democracy, it's worse. You were fighting for an illegally occupying military country that is an ethno-state committing apartheid and genocide. That's what you were fighting for. And it sucks that we were played that way. But like I said earlier, Jay, I think now the silver lining is now we can have this conversation with people that weren't willing to admit that our own country screwed us. Maybe you'll be able to look a little deeper and say, maybe our country got played too by something far more nefarious. Not to take the blame off of how bad we are, but we might not have had a choice, and we might not have a choice right now. And you shared this tweet with me, Jay. This just in. This is today, guys. This is today. 24-year anniversary of 9/11. We're covering on the show. Israel's Netanyahu says today, we're going to fulfill our promise that there will be no Palestine state.
Well, today is a great day to announce that, because in America, we're talking about Charlie Kirk so he can rile the troops up over there in Israel, while we stay distracted over here because we're talking about a major event that just happened. So interesting timing for him to say that, because I don't know, has he said been that, like, you know, transparent publicly before, where he says that there will never be a Palestinian state, this place belongs to us? I don't remember that level of rhetoric. I remember him saying,
what he's been doing, Jay, is he's been speaking honestly in Hebrew and lying in English. So I'm thinking that this is a translation from his Hebrew audience. But you're right, he hasn't really, when he gets on with ABC, Fox News, and he looks in the camera and he speaks in that deep voice and look like I'm very sure of myself English, and he's just like, I'm going to tell you this is for the greater good, and we have to defend ourselves. It's always defend. It's attack when it's in Hebrew.
I do want to make a prediction, though. Remember, I predicted at the start of the year Trump wasn't going to end the Ukrainian war, and he would bring it on. I want to make a prediction about Israel. In 15 years' time, Israel will either not exist, or the greater, or they will not still be talking about the Greater Israel Project. I don't think there's any chance of that happening, and I don't know if as a state it can survive. So I know that's what they want, but I don't even think the establishment, truly believes that. That's my opinion. So
and we left this one out. We had a viewer put this up. This is important. There was a call. There was a warning to not come to the towers that day, and very particular people got that call. And the technology was called Odigo, which we had Ryan Christian, the Last American Vagabond, looked into that. So we got that paper trail. That is real. That was a messaging service that was created by Israel that gave this warning in 2001. It was a big deal to be able to do that on the secret messaging system. So that happened too. So I'm just throwing that out there. Thanks for reminding us about that, Bamboo, because that's also important. But this is what we do here. We connect the dots on these things. We keep asking questions. And what we learned earlier today is we're allowed to start doing it on day one. We can ask questions about Charlie Kirk on day one. We can ask about 9/11. We should have asked about 9/11 sooner. But guess what? 24 years later, we can also ask questions about 9/11. Wasn't it them after all? The establishment told us. They told us to never forget, Jay. They told us to never forget. So we're not going to forget. We're going to keep talking about it, and we're going to keep asking the hard questions because we demand answers. Okay, let me take a moment to introduce you to our good friends over at World Harvest Food Bank right here in LA. World Harvest has been serving families across Los Angeles for 18 years now, and they started with this simple idea. Everyone deserves access to healthy, affordable food no matter what they're going through. With their Cart with a Heart program, families can walk away with a full cart of groceries, fresh produce, dairy, meat, and pantry supplies for just a $50 contribution. That's for the entire cart. That same cart will cost over $300 at a typical grocery store. At World Harvest, everyone is welcome. They don't ask for income verification, ID, or any paperwork. No. Basically, their doors are open to anyone who's doing their best, but just needs a little extra push to get by. If you're an Angelino like me, you know the times have been tough here. First with all the union strikes, the LA fires, and now the ICE raids going on. It seems like we're living in a constant state of uncertainty. And that's why it's so important to support local charities like World Harvest, because they aren't just helping the community. They're an essential function in its very survival. World Harvest is located at Venice and Arlington. And right now, you can use our special discount code THL20 for 20% off your contribution amount at checkout. And if you're not in the LA area, you can still help out with a $50 donation, which will provide a full cart of food for a family by going to worldharvestfoodbank.org or scan the QR code for more info. Or you can just spread the word. Follow them online. Let people know they're here for them, because at the end of the day, it's about providing choice, access, and relief without barriers. World Harvest Food Bank. End hunger now.